Ooh, that looks tasty.
Yar! Welcome to the show. It be called Who Ye Be and Why Ye Be at the Sea. So, we'll start with you.
I be ornery she-beast. I took to the waters to deal with pesky goats, mateys.
Yar! Oh, them goats be a pain, eh? And who ye be? Tell us something about yourself.
This be Cookie here, and there be nothing better on the open sea than to see me fine pirate hat that gives me all me extra swagger. It brings all the pirates to the yard.
Welcome, folks. Today, the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we are talking about Forgotten Waters, designed by Isaac Vega, J. Arthur Ellis, and Mr. Bistro. And it is published by Plaid Hat Games with illustrations by Nadezhda Tikhomirova and Anton Fadeev. And I do apologize for pronouncing those two names incorrectly because I'm sure that I did. Now, before I go any further, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles because if I make any rules errors, that is where you'll find the corrections. And thank you to Improv Dan and Jenny Penny for helping out with today's voiceover introduction. So what Forgotten Waters is it is a pirate-themed storytelling game that is powered by an app. And what the app's going to do is you're going to pick your adventure and it's going to do all of the narration of the story, and you're going to be using that to jump to different parts in this adventure because at its core, this is really like a series of choose your own adventures. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played and just want to jump into my final thoughts, then you're going to want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's do a quick rundown of what's going to be happening. Now, first of all, I've set up this map board here completely randomly so as not to spoil any of the adventures. And you'll see that you have your ship, and what's going to be happening as you play is you're going to be moving your ship around the board. And when you come to these tiles, that will give you an event, in this case, 3. And if you get there, or 963, whatever it may be, you would type in that number to the app and it would give you a little bit of story and tell you what page you're going to turn to in this book. Now, before we get to that, let's talk about everything else. Before you start the game, each player will wind up being assigned a different pirate. And I'm going to cover up that side over there, again, to avoid any possible spoilers. And what you'll see is your pirate will have a name, or a type of pirate, say the orphan pirate, and that'll give you a little idea of your story and what's going on. You're going to create your own name using the pirate name generator right here. And down here you have all of these skills. These represent skills that you're going to be unlocking and improving throughout the game. And you'll see on some of these, you can see that there are these stars. And as you're playing the game, you'll be going through and getting bonuses to these skills. And every time you check one of these stars, it means 1, that skill, so if I've checked the 1 here, my exploration gets a +1 on it. But every time you check a star, you also get to go and fill in one of these bubbles here as you go through your personal constellation. And every time you fill in an exclamation, you'll be unlocking another part of your pirate's individual story here in the middle. The other thing that I will say is before the game starts, you're going to create your own personal little Mad Lib, and this is going to develop throughout the story. So as you start with your first backstory here, all of these things, as you read your story out loud to the other players, will be influenced by your little Mad Lib up here. And I'll say now that every single pirate is completely different. Now, the other thing that's going to happen at the beginning of the game is you're going to assign jobs. One player will be in charge of tracking all of the events that you've done that are important and the storyline advancements and so on. You'll have a player who is the quartermaster here who's tracking the infamy. That's the order you get to do things. You'll be tracking the hull, how strong your hull is. You'll be tracking how much crew and infamy you have. So if you have 8 crew, you can see down through that hole, their hunger is 4. And you also have this discontent track. And should ever these two meet, you have lost the game because there's a mutiny. And I should say, should ever your hull get to 0, you have lost the game because you have sunk. You have the Cooper, who is tracking your supplies. You have the Lookout, who is tracking your objective and any threat. As a threat gets higher, sometimes it'll say check threat. You check the card. And if you have higher threat than that, then you have to deal with whatever the result is. And you have the gunner, and you'll be putting your cannons down there, determining if they're loaded or unloaded, and these dials will be how you track different things if you get into combat. Each player will have their own little job. And every now and then, a story will say, the player who is the gunner, or the player who is highest on the infantry track, or the player who has the highest exploration skill will get to make a choice. Now, the core of what's happening in the game is you're going to be going to different locations in this book here. And so I'm just going to flip to one right here. So for example, maybe you wind up at this reef in the sea. And so on this side, it'll give you some beautiful artwork. And then down at the bottom, it might give you some kind of a hint as to what is going to happen. Then you're going to go to the other side of the page, and I'm going to flip to a completely different random page so you don't know what's going on. So for example, we have this one here, which is another random page. And what's going to happen is you're going to start a timer, and then in order of infamy, you get to choose which one of these actions your character wants to do. Now the red ones mean someone has to do them. So if no one has picked this one or this one, the last two people will have to do this one and this one. Then the ones that are blue here, only one person can do, and the ones that are green, multiple people can do. And you're going to have 40 seconds until each player, when it comes their turn, they'll be grabbing one of these and they'll be going, I'm going to do this one. And then the next player's like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deal with feeding the crew. And I'm going to go to the captain's quarters. And, well, I have to do sailing. And so you'll be going through and making your choice. And you're going to base your choice, one, off the story of what's going on, but also these symbols here. Because these symbols will tell you what might happen. If you have one of these symbols that are the symbols of skills, that means you're probably going to increase that skill, and you might also be doing a skill check. A skill check is simply you roll your 12-sided die, and you add whatever bonus you have for your skill, and then whatever bonuses you happen to have from any treasures that you have picked up, or perhaps any story events that you have gotten that also might have some kind of a bonus. Then once that is done, you go to the other side, and again, I'm going to flip to another totally random page. And here you can see that it tells you, you go down the list and it tells you what the options are, what you do, your check, what the benefits or minuses are doing each check. And you simply go through all of that as it says. Then once you have finished that page, at the bottom it'll tell you what entry to type into the app, and you will continue the story. And so you're going to be going through the game like that until you reach the end or you have lost. Once you finish your entire story, you're going to look at how many of your personal story events you have unlocked. If you have unlocked only 0, 1, or 2, then you're going to get a bad ending for your pirate. It might mean your pirate dies sometime down the line. Maybe it means your pirate just winds up with a crummy job in the future, or whatever. If you've unlocked at least 3, you're going to get a good ending, which means something positive happens for your pirate in the future. And then if you get all 5, you get the legendary ending, which is the best possible answer for your pirate down in the future as you kind of go through your epilogue. And so that's it. That's the gist of how this game works. So what do I like about this game? First off, I will say that I do think the art in this book is very stunning. It's colorful, it's bright, it's beautiful. I really, really like it. And along the same lines, I really appreciate, and this is not all the characters, but here's some of them, I really appreciate the commitment to diversity and inclusion in the cast of pirate characters here. I really appreciate that Plaid Hat has done that because it is so important in this industry, I think, and I'm very happy to see it. And then I'll say that the components themselves are good, solid components. They're not the best components, but they are good, solid components. And it comes with things like this lovely little container for your treasures, your story tokens, your story cards, your story tokens, your misfortune chips, and your reroll chip. All that, I appreciate that it came with that. It looks nice. Great. However, what I appreciate the most is the story of this game, which should not be a surprise coming from Plaid Hat. But the stories are delightful, and the app, which I didn't show you how it works, I didn't want to risk spoiling anything, is fantastically done. They hired actors, and the voice acting is good, and the stories are kind of tongue-in-cheek, they're unexpected here and there, and what's more important is the stories remember when you've done something, because it is possible to go back to the same page in this book. But the app remembers and it will kind of continue the story along, and it's just delightful. I also really appreciate the way your character creation sets the stage for this game. Doing that Mad Lib, one, maybe I'm just a child, but Mad Libs are always funny. Doing that Mad Lib is just the perfect way to set up the tongue-in-cheek, slightly off-center goofiness of this game, and it's just wonderful. And then it carries on through all of the games that I've played. It is still there. For example, well, I won't go into examples because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but rest assured the game is funny, you're going to laugh, you're going to have a good time. And the last thing that I will just go ahead and add here is that the way this game plays with a lot of players is wonderful. Because when you have that timer and everyone is frantically picking their thing, there is a tension that I don't necessarily think that you're going to have if you play with 1 or 2 or 3 players, because everyone is trying to figure out their own character, what their character needs, but then again, what the ship needs, because if we lose, we all lose. And it's just a delightful, fun little balance that you play, and the more people you have, the more fun that is. I will also say that I was able to play this with 6 players multiple times, because this is a perfect social distance game. We set up a table with a little projector outside. We projected the image of the book onto the side of our house. Everyone had their own table. Each table was 8 feet away from the table in the middle and another 8 feet away from the ones on the side. We had masks. And it works great. It was not a problem. You could also probably play this very easily through Zoom. In this time of shelter in place and social distance, this is a wonderful, wonderful option. What are my quibbles about the game? And I only have a few. Really, I only have 2. One is that I don't think this game will be as successful if you're playing a solo variant or with just a few players. I don't think you're going to have the tension. I think the story will still be just as good. I think it will still be fun, but it's not going to be as fun as it would be with a lot of people. And then my only other quibble is there's not a ton of game to this game. Yes, there's going to be times where you're going to roll the dice, but I think the last 3-hour session that I played, I think I rolled the dice 5 times the whole time. Yes, each player is going to be tracking something, but for most of these, that just means that you're sliding something up and down one of these and just literally tracking your supplies and as you manage your resources. And yes, managing resources is part of the game, so there is that. So I say that because if you are someone that is looking for a deep, crunchy pirate game, you are looking in the wrong place. Because this is a collaborative storytelling game, and it might be the best collaborative storytelling game out there, but there's not a lot of mechanics that you're going to be futzing around with. But that's it. As I just said, if you are looking for a storytelling game and want the joy of this kind of collaborative choose your own adventure where the story is tight, the story is fun, the story makes sense, and the app is going to slowly develop the story for you, then this is your game. This is a fantastic game. You can do it via Zoom. You can do it socially distanced. It is great, great fun if you are not looking for something deep, heavy, and very gamey, because this is not it. But so there you have it, folks. That is Forgotten Waters. As always, if I made a mistake in the few rules that I did explain, please let me know in the comments of the timestamp. I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.